The topic of today's video is, did The Rock and WWE kill the Cody Rhodes Rock feud? And the short answer is it wasn't just killed, it was assassinated. And we'll explain how all this went down. In the premiere episode of Raw, The Rock came out to, he was in the opening segment and, The Rock coming out with his star power. But in terms of what he actually said, almost everything he said was a disaster. So we'll talk about what he said and more importantly, the ramifications of what The Rock said. So, The Rock acknowledged the support of Netflix for WWE's new era, the Netflix era. He acknowledged Netflix execs Ted Sarandos and Bella Baraggio, and he pointed up to them in the crowd in the high stands in the arena. And then he also gave another shout out to, of all people, Cody Rhodes, the WWE champion. Let's talk about that. The Rock is now on good terms with Cody Rhodes. And he says to Cody Rhodes, after he acknowledges the Netflix executives, he says, someone else I want to acknowledge before we get this show off the road. There's a man who The Rock has spilled blood with, spilled his blood across the country, willing to do it again. But here's the truth. This man has carried this company on his back for over a year. There's a man who has done an amazing job. The Rock then looks at Cody Rhodes and he says, Cody Rhodes, thank you, brother. So he didn't just say that. Also, when he came down to the ring, he pretty much hugged Cody Rhodes, who was standing in the crowd. So, have you ever heard of the term cognitive dissonance? Have you ever heard of the term killing the storyline? Have you ever heard of the term breaking the fourth wall? Have you ever heard of the term bad storytelling and bad creative? Well, that pretty much sums up what I just described to you. See, if you recall that last time Cody Rhodes and The Rock met, The Rock said to Cody Rhodes, quote, as many of you know, The Rock has to go away for a little while. But when The Rock does come back, just remember whether you are champion or you are not champion. The Rock is going to come back for you, Cody. So, The Rock, as you all remember, Cody Rhodes and The Rock were in a big feud last year at WrestleMania. It wasn't just a casual feud of two people competing with each other. This was it was turned into a storyline that Cody Rhodes took The Rock's spot at WrestleMania. And this feud turned into a blood feud between the Bloodline, Roman Reigns, and The Rock versus Cody Rhodes, who eventually found a tag team partner in Seth Rollins. This blood feud was so intense that The Rock actually beat the heck out of Cody Rhodes in a parking lot. He not only beat the heck out of Cody Rhodes, but he mocked his mother. The Rock called his belt. The Rock had a fake belt which he called the Mama Rhodes belt. So this got so personal that The Rock mocked Cody Rhodes' mother. So as The Rock beat the heck out of Cody Rhodes in the parking lot so badly that the Cody Rhodes had blood all over his face, The Rock got down near Cody Rhodes, hold out that Mama Rhodes belt to mock Cody Rhodes and the Cody Rhodes family, and he said, look at this, Mama Rhodes. It didn't have to be this way, but this is the only way. He said, at WrestleMania, The Rock's gonna put your son's blood on his belt. So this got intense, this got brutal, and this got personal between The Rock and Cody Rhodes. It was a very intense feud and an intense rivalry. So much so that, although it probably wasn't planned, The Rock said to Cody Rhodes before he left, when The Rock does come back, The Rock's coming for you, Cody, whether you champion or not. So, basically, we had a big feud between Cody Rhodes, who is obviously one of the most talented performers in the WWE, who's been head of the company in a very successful and deserving manner for the past year as WWE champion. One of the best in-ring performers in the WWE, a man that we pretty much believe in a similar manner to Hulk Hogan and Dusty Rhodes. However, despite that feud, despite that blood feud, despite the fact that WWE is trying to build feuds about based on realism, such as Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes fighting in the parking lot, and people thinking, is this a real fight? Is this a real fight? There were no WWE cameras. There were just fans outside filming Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens in a fight. And people saying, hey, is this a real fight? So you're making things feel believable, WWE. You're making things feel, hey, maybe this was real. There ain't no cameras here from WWE. Maybe we're capturing real heat between superstars. Maybe we're catching something like Vince McMahon when he got in a real fight with Bret the Hitman Hart. This is called storytelling. When Seth Rollins and CM Punk have real heat with each other, you turn that heat into a storyline. Now, The Rock and Cody Rhodes had a storyline. They had a fight. They had a blood feud. Cody Rhodes' blood was pouring down his face after The Rock beat him up in that parking lot. Held the Mama Rhodes belt up to Cody Rhodes' face. He spat on Dusty Rhodes. He spat on the whole Rhodes family when he said, Mama Rhodes, I'm coming for your boy at WrestleMania. This blood's gonna be all over your son's face at WrestleMania. So that's a blood feud. That's intense, and that's heat. And that's what real feuds are built on. Hatred, whether the hatred is real, such as Bret Hitman Hart and Shawn Michaels, or whether it's manufactured storytelling, such as The Rock and Cody Rhodes. However, despite all that storytelling, despite all that real heat, despite the fact that The Rock actually said on the premiere episode of Raw, there's a man who The Rock has spilled blood with, spilled his blood across the country, willing to do it again, willing to do it again. We're willing to do it again, but here's the truth. The man has carried this company on his back for a year. So the storyline isn't completely dead. The Rock is obviously doing something with movies that's preventing him from competing at WrestleMania. So was it a good idea to kill this storyline? It's not entirely dead. It's probably going to happen someday. But was it good to just kill a storyline and destroy all that heat, all that story that was built up? Was it good to do all that? Or was it appropriate because it's not going to happen? So you have to tell the fans, hey, The Rock's not at WrestleMania? The Rock also acknowledged Roman Reigns after he acknowledged Cody Rhodes. He acknowledged Roman Reigns. He squares up to Roman Reigns, and I thought maybe The Rock's gonna feud with Roman Reigns. He squares up for him, and then he places that tribal necklace over Roman Reigns' head, and acknowledges that Roman Reigns is head of the table. So The Rock's out of WrestleMania, more than likely. At this point, it's almost certain he's out. Now, will The Rock come there in some way? I think The Rock's got movie contracts, and I don't know if he can even compete in any way. Because if he gets injured, then the movie schedule production will get shut down. However, maybe because The Rock is a wrestling performer, maybe it'll be in his contract that he can do something. Like maybe he can't take a bump, but maybe he can hit a rock bottom. For example, how could you book The Rock at WrestleMania? First of all, if The Rock is to compete at WrestleMania, maybe the fact the storyline with Cody Rhodes and the storyline with Roman Reigns is put away. If The Rock makes an appearance in a Cody Rhodes championship match or a Roman Reigns championship match, it'll be surprising. For example, maybe Cody Rhodes is competing in a world title match against CM Punk, for example. The Rock comes out unexpectedly, hits Cody Rhodes with the rock bottom. No one's going to expect it because everybody thinks it's dead. So that's one way that this could pay off. Another way is that, let's say, Roman Reigns is facing Gunther. Then The Rock can come out and hit Roman Reigns with the rock bottom. Set up a feud with Roman Reigns. He can say something like, hey, you're not head of the table anymore, The Rock is. And then maybe Roman Reigns and Rock can face next year at WrestleMania. Or maybe Cody Rhodes and The Rock can face next year at WrestleMania. Or maybe since it's two big matches and The Rock seems to be pretty busy, maybe he should just face Cody Rhodes at Survivor Series or SummerSlam. Or whatever pay-per-view to get it out of the way when he's free. Two big matches. The Rock vs. Roman Reigns is something I've wanted to see for a long time. But WWE seems to have killed, not just killed, but assassinated the storyline. All that heat with Cody Rhodes is dead. All that heat, all that real heat, it's hard to build, it's dead. Now, The Rock didn't just kill the storyline with Cody Rhodes, but he also acknowledged the WWE Netflix executives. Now, I'm all for giving people credit for their work, but you know, have you ever watched Marlon Brando in The Godfather? Did Marlon Brando turn and look at the camera and say, "Thank you, Francis Ford Coppola"? Did Marlon Brando or Brad Pitt in Fight Club look at the camera and say, "Thank you, David Fincher"? No, you acknowledge the work outside in interviews with the press, in the interviews with podcasters. You don't do it during the show. You don't do it in the program. And having this acknowledgement of people right at the beginning of a new era of Raw, this isn't the way to go. This is about storytelling. And they got the credits now. They got Paul Levesque and another producer at the end of the show. It's only two people's names, but is it really that important? I mean, we know pretty much everybody knows who the top guys in WWE are. It's Paul Levesque and Nick Khan. So do we need to acknowledge people? You're not acknowledging the cameraman. You're not acknowledging the people to set up the ring, the referees. You're just acknowledging two names. I forget the other guy's name, but you're acknowledging Paul Levesque as if people don't know that Triple H is the top guy in WWE in terms of management. So keep the documentary stuff for the press conference or after the show. Don't do it in the middle of a show. Keep the storyline strong and keep that suspension of disbelief. That suspension of disbelief when Cody and Kevin Owens had that feud, which was filmed as if it was a real fight. Keep that suspension of disbelief when we think that Seth Rollins and CM Punk have true animosity for each other. And the truth is they do have animosity for each other. They keep it professional to some extent. Keep that suspension of disbelief. That's what makes money. Breaking the fourth wall. Breaking the fourth wall is something that should never be done. At least when you're telling a story. Unless there's a reason. If there's some sort of movie and you break the fourth wall. But don't just break the fourth wall. It seems like the whole WWE now these days breaks the fourth wall constantly. Now, who do you acknowledge the Netflix executives? I forget their names. But this is storytelling. This is WWE, and it's storytelling first and foremost. And I've watched the press conferences after the show. We pretty much know it's all a script. We know Game of Thrones is a scripted show. When we watch Game of Thrones, do we want to be reminded? Do we want to have Jon Snow look at the camera? Do we want Kit Harington to look at the camera and say, "Hey, that was a absolute line. I don't know how George R. Martin wrote that line. Unbelievable. George R. Martin is an exceptional. I mean that line really came out. Miss Clarice Van Houten, that line really came out. George R. Martin is absolutely wonderful." No, you you have a story to tell. You don't break the fourth wall for no purpose. I mean, breaking the fourth wall was virtually impossible when Vince McMahon was in charge. I mean, most of us know the history of the Curtain Call, where real friends, the Clique, Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Triple H, Scott Hall, left WWE, and they hugged each other in the steel cage. Vince McMahon was angry. I mean, breaking the fourth wall is not just a little thing; it's a big thing, and it shouldn't happen at the very first Raw on the very start of the show. It should happen virtually never. See, some people are interested in the wrestling business, and some people are interested in the storylines. It's called suspension of disbelief. It's a very important thing. And suspension of disbelief should be the thing that happens in the WWE. It's a scripted show. It's not the NFL. It's not the UFC. So keep the suspension of disbelief. And do not create cognitive dissonance in your audience when you have Cody Rhodes and The Rock in a blood feud with each other. Blood pouring down Cody Rhodes' face. The Rock mocking Cody Rhodes' mom. Mama Rhodes, Mama Rhodes. And then you come back and hug Cody Rhodes with no explanation. And then praise Cody Rhodes for being the champ. I mean, don't create this this cognitive dissonance in your audience. And don't insult your audience. Don't insult your audience by saying, "Hey, it's all just a storyline. Let's just weave the real with the fake." And by the way, what's the deal with Cody Rhodes sitting in the audience with a belt? He's the WWE champion and he's sitting in the audience in the front seats. I mean, that's just totally bizarre. And we'll talk about that another time because I think this video has got to its point. So, thank you for listening, and I'll see you for the next episode review of episode 3 of Raw. See ya.